control your senses for stopping. What do you do? Stopping what? What is the whole lifestyle? Sinful life. Yeah. So that we can stop sinful life and then focus on spiritual life. However, Prabhupada writes, by staunch faith, your master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one not only controls the senses but also realizes the Supreme Lord. So there are a few things. You must always have staunch faith in the spiritual master. Key ingredient. Without that, you cannot proceed. That's it. You can't move on. You are stuck. And then the second thing is, because of your spiritual master, your faith in the Supreme Lord should be there. Mostly people will have faith in Krishna, but not in spiritual master. For a doubting soul,
There's no happiness in
no happiness in this world. So we can't doubt our spiritual master.
So, Prabhu, if it's not a long answer, how does Badi Maharaj's pastime qualify for this? Badi Maharaj's pastime, he declares his own spiritual master.
He's on that spiritual master is only guiding him to. He's not a spiritual master in that sense.
Only in his material life.
He was If you read the verses, he says he's like a seminal guru, not a spiritual master. And when the guru is telling a disciple not to connect with Krishna, then he is already
out of sync with tribe.
Yeah.
Gurus, Sadhu Shastra.
Yeah, so he's not in line with the scripture also. Therefore, he could defy Sukracharya. That's the only reason. Otherwise, he could not have even rejected Sukracharya's instruction. But because this is dealing with Supreme Lord, that don't serve the Supreme Lord. So there, the instruction is incorrect. That was the only reason he could. But then also you have to understand, Bali Maharaj is one of the Maharaja. He understands the scripture so well. You and I cannot. So we cannot defy our spiritual master. So you shouldn't even think like that. That Bali Maharaj did, I can do. No. So yeah, the lessons are there to understand why he did that. But we can't even do that. If we are in such a situation where we think our spiritual master is contradicting some important instruction, then we go to the authorities and lay out and say, I'm in a dilemma. I do not know what to do. And if they understand the situation well, then they will rectify your doubts. But if the fact is true, then they will investigate further. But in all circumstances, they shouldn't tell you, yes, reject your guru. That's wrong. They should first reconnect your faith first.
That is based on Shastra.
Yes.
The checkpoint is the Shastra.
Therefore, you have three, no? Guru, Sadhana, Shastra.
They should just come back to Shastra again.
Yes.
That's the main key thing.
Yes. Not personal
Not personal opinion.
opinions. Yeah. So, staunch faith in spiritual master will give you faith in Supreme Lord. That means you really truly understand the purpose of devotional activities. Then automatically your senses will be controlled. Automatically. You don't have to have a separate endeavor. By following the instructions of the spiritual master, your senses will be controlled. Because he tells you, don't break the principles. So then you say, yeah, Guru has told me, so I have to be sincere. And every day you pray to Krishna, please don't let me fall down, don't let me break the principles. You have to, because you are not some super being who can do it automatically. You need the mercy. So you pray like that. Yeah, and then take a humble position. Right? So then this faith Prabhupada wants to emphasize, and he quotes the Svetasvatara Upanishad. And you all know this, Yasha Deva Parabhakti Yata Deva Tata Guru Tasya Garidayata Prakashanti Mahatma.
So I have one question, and this is in my mind for a long time.
Let me just read it.
Sure.
Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith, implicit, okay, in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. That means you know how to live your life according to the scriptures. It will be revealed from within your heart.
Only if you have implicit faith.
Yes. Yes, Madhuri.
Yes, so Prabhu Shukracharya, because as you mentioned, and I have heard it before also, that he is called as a seminal guru, just because he was not following the proper instructions or maybe not giving the instructions, that is why he is called as a seminal guru?
No. For that one, he is a seminal guru. They follow the son, father, those kind of things.
Like in India also.
Caste, like a caste.
Caste goes on,
Yeah.
like that.
Caste acharya.
Caste. That's why.
By qualification.
Well, those guys are really qualified. Even though it's another.
Shukracharya.
But yeah, Shukracharya, he's this. I mean, nowadays you can't do that. But then those are based on bodily connection. It's not based on spiritual reasoning, based on scripture.
That I know next canto we will be reading.
He
about
was more interested in the Karma Kanda section rather than the Upanishad or Upasana or the Bhakti section.
So when he said, Shukracharya said, don't give it to Vamana, that time it was not known to Bali Maharaj that he is the Supreme Personality.
He understood that. Yeah. Sukracharya tells him, this is Vishnu in disguise, so don't give him. So therefore, it was wrong instruction. So,
Contradictory.
yes.
We know that outside those who are not bona fide sampradayas, they will hide whatever the so-called leaders doing mistakes. They will try to hide it, but if it happens in ISKCON, that's what they will also try to do. They'll try to protect some.
In the past, yeah.
They don't try to come out in the open. So that's
In the
why
past,
people lost
yeah.
faith, right? So
In the past, the mistakes were made, but you have to understand, our movement is only 50 years old now. It's a baby. So there are growing pains we will go through, and in the course, there may be some of us may be hurt more than others. But if we have faith in Prabhupada, we also should overcome such difficulties.
Yeah, so they should have been more open.
Yeah.
That's what I
Like I say, if you are new and you don't know some things, and then you make bad choices.
Yeah.
So that's what has happened. So let's not find fault on that. Let's understand that the intent was good. So let's not make the same mistakes.
Yeah, that's, they should try to.
So the whole thing is you also have to learn that the mistakes were made. Let me also not make such mistakes also. It's easy to always get the leaders. That's it. They have to be perfect. But then the leaders are also in the shower taking bath with you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that. But what I'm trying to say, why were they trying to hide it?
Well, like I said, choices were made. Yeah.
Also, no point. In connection with
Yeah, the super soulless.
it was related to that.
Yeah.
Just that's so it's not important.
Right? Smriti. You covered your knowledge. Alright, so text 29. यथावर्थादयो हि अर्था योगस्यार्थं न बिभ्रति अनर्थाय भावेयुस्मा पूर्तम् इष्टं तथा सतः. As professional activities or business profits cannot help one in spiritual advancement but are a source of material entanglement, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot help anyone who is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very clear. So we shouldn't be endeavoring for those kind of things. Material position, professional positions, all these are just entanglement. Similarly, ritualistic activities, karma kanda are also material and they do not help us understand Krishna. So Prabhupada writes, this kind of activities does not mean that he is spiritually advanced, and which is a common mistake. In a lot of times, you see some minister who'll come to the temple, and then everyone will garland him and treat him, or even do arti to the guy. But he's not qualified. See, confirmed.
It just show respect.
Yeah, there's a ways
so that he'll
to.
not bother the
Yeah,
That's the good.
yeah, there's ways to show respect, but we shouldn't be like worshipping those people. Yeah. And then Prabhupada continues, to be spiritually advanced is different from being materially rich. Okay, this is very important because we keep making this mistake, right? Although the purpose of life is to become spiritually rich, the word is spiritually rich. Unfortunate men, misguided as they are always engaged in trying to become materially rich. Right? We have to think about these things, how much am I really make advancement, or am I putting more effort in trying to be materially comfortable or increasing my material wealth. So why? Because what is the human form of life meant for? Are you convinced?
That's what scripture says.
Exactly. We can say scripture says that, but we are not convinced because we don't put that percentage or the effort in our daily, day-to-day activity. We don't. You get up in the morning, how often do you remember? First thing, do you remember that Krishna, my spiritual master? Those things must be, bang on. As soon as you open your eyes, you have to think. Right? First thing you do is Guru Maharaj, Guru Dev, pay obeisance, then to Srila Prabhupada, then to your presiding deities. No? Deities. No? Yeah, then you have to pay obeisance and tell them, thank you, it's another day, please don't let me forget you. Yes, Prabhupada.
So I remember that point. Prabhupada, whatever happened, he never rejected his disciples. There were very few cases. So
Very rare, yeah, very
very merciful. He didn't mistakes.
Yeah. Most gurus won't reject,
Yeah.
as far as I know also. Very rare. Unless they become very demoniac.
Now, other thing is some devotees, they take initiation from one spiritual master and then they are attracted by another one. So how to guide them?
Again, this is
They think, oh, I should take it from him. Not
well, I would say this is a society management problem. Because we are not guiding them from the beginning stage. Right? That you can pick the hundreds of gurus there. You can pick whoever you want. Not that you say only this person, only in this city. All those things.
Most of them, they don't get
Nicely, for at least 1 year, you have to follow nicely. And then if you have interest in someone, then there should be interview, 4 or 5 levels of interview.
Yeah, they don't do it.
Like your job interview.
Minimum 5.
and you find out if the person is really sincere or not. For example, if a person wants to take initiation, then they also must be willing to commit to service at the temple. How many hours you're willing to give?
But we don't.
Okay, if you don't, then you're not interested. Then you're not your understanding is wrong also.
Sentimental.
They
They
don't
say-
have gurus in good standing.
Yes, you cannot reject it. Yeah.
But then you can only make.
No, the proper way is again you approach your guru and ask permission.
That's also.
Yeah. Can I take Siksha from so and so? Yeah.
Yeah, even for Siksha we should ask, right?
Yeah.
Not
For
Siksha,
Siksha.
that's not-
Even for Siksha. Yeah. And if the guru says yes, then you can do it. If he says no, then too bad.
Because their thinking or the way of approaching spiritual life might be different, then you will be
Again, all this, like I said, is an education thing. Yeah.
because different gurus have different approaches. right?
Yeah,
So-
still, it's quite straightforward. If you follow Prabhupada's books and the Acharya's teachings, it's quite straightforward. The problem comes from our own fertile imaginations. Yeah. So anyway, coming back, if you are engrossed in material things, what happens? You will understand the mission, human mission or goal of human life, and then you will become attracted to many unnecessary necessities, right? Buy me an iPhone 11 when you have an iPhone 6 or 7 that still works. Unnecessary necessities. Right? Why? Because one will become degraded. And Prabhupada then talks about what can happen if you keep making different choices. So he says, if you make such choices, urdhvam gachanti sadhasta madhyatistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista adho gachanti tamasa. So we can understand now, okay, if I'm always going to jump around like a monkey, then you'll just take higher birth, lower birth, middle birth, different planetary systems. So then Prabhupada then talks about in Kali Yuga. He says, in Kali Yuga, material advancement means degradation and attraction to many unwanted necessities that create a low mentality. Means you become a low class person. Not a Brahmana, you become Duratma, not Mahatma. Therefore, Jaganya Guna Vrittista, since people are contaminated by the lower qualities, they will lead their next lives either as animals or in other degraded forms of life. And then he cautions again for us, because we think like that. Making a show of religion without Krishna consciousness may make one popular in the estimation of unintelligent men. So this also applies to devotee. We are not practicing, but we can pretend to be Krishna conscious. But factually, such a materialistic display of spiritual advancement does not help one at all. It will not prevent one from missing the goal of life. Okay? Very nice points Prabhupada wants us to consider carefully. Otherwise, you can go to higher planet, you can go to lower planet, life after life. Right? Text 30. Yaschitta vijaye yataha Syani Shango Parigraha Eko Vivikta Sharano Bhikshur Vaikshya Mitashana. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. Of course, this is talking about, where you can go to the forest or beg. In our present, maybe in Seattle you can do. There are a lot of beggars, right? They build facilities for beggars, right? But it's not for spiritual realization. So it again defeats the purpose. So it's actually for retirement. When you are at a certain stage in your life, when you are ready to retire, then you should go to the Vana. You become Vana Prastha. Or you can become a sannyas. So taking to Vana Prastha or sannyas life means one have to give up family life. Yeah. So Grihasthas, what are they meant to do then? They should learn to see that life is full of dualities, which causes one to break one's meditation on Krishna, right? You have so many things. So what you're learning is, as you're going through your Grihastha ashram, is that so much of this is just interfering with your Krishna consciousness. So you have to traverse the path very carefully.
Very difficult.
See, you already lost the battle.
Mentally.
Yeah, so you cannot. You say, yes, my guru will guide me. Have faith. Srila Prabhupada will guide us.
Then go to like I've seen when Govardhan especially when we went for Parikrama, I got
Parikrama,
like
yeah.
2 times or twice I've gone recent years and they like devotees sitting on the road and just living whatever they get.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean they're not guided by ISKCON philosophy, but
Yeah, they try. Yeah, they try.
it's
Some
such a
people who try like that.
tough
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Just
By
go-
performing that, they get some jnana, knowledge, that the Lord is supporting them like that.
They many are so
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
stress.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically that's why Prabhupada is trying to tell us that, of course he says, if you can understand this point, one should accept the order of sannyas without hesitation.
So Prabhu, we have heard it so many times that so many places in Prabhupada books that family life one should leave it. So at the age of 50 one should just leave it, 50 maybe 55.
Can you do it?
Huh?
Can you do it? Question
That's
is,
the
can you?
instruction, then why not?
Yeah, it should be able to, with faith.
Because in Bharat Maharaj pastime it says specifically that he left his family life like one leaves a stool. That's
Yes.
the comparison
Yes.
given.
Yes.
And I have heard it in many lectures. I personally think it, this is my thinking, that because we are all grahastas, we just say it in a very, coded or maybe in a very
Nonchalant.
sugar coated way that if you're a grahasta, do your duties. But everywhere in 4th canto, in Bharat Maharaj's pastime, in here and many other places, in Prahlad Maharaj's pastime, Dhruva Maharaj's pastime, they say that leave the family life,
Yes,
leave the family
yes,
life,
yes. So those who are aware, you will read all these things. You will pick it up. Those who read and don't pick it up means they are not aware of it.
There are two.
They are not focused. They are not reading this. They skip over those things.
But then Prabhu, we should leave it. After 50, 55,
If
we
you
are-
can, yeah. I will say if you can do it, yeah, but I doubt it.
But shouldn't one be prepared if they leave?
That's what I mean.
prematurely, they will-
That's the point, right? If you want to leave, you should be ready to leave. That means you have set everything properly. Then you say, I'm taking sannyas or whatever. Not artificially. Remember? Don't be a mityachar.
Vanaprastha and sannyas.
Yeah.
It's a whole
That's why
preparation.
there are two, right?
Huh?
That's why there are two. One is the nivritti mark, which is and the
Just
pravritti, right? There are two.
Rejection.
One you just immediately go, give up and go.
Yeah.
Or-
But then
or the other one you take
Well-
the time and when you're ready you go.
pravriti marg and nivriti marg. But ours is nivriti marg.
What nivritti is the which one? I forget. I get confused.
These
Just
ones-
go away. Right?
We take up austerities.
And pravritti is the one directly.
Enjoy.
Oh, there are two things.
Sense
right?
enjoy.
So the instruction is to go to Vrindavan directly, but since you can't do it, then try
Yeah.
to.
That's the whole idea, right?
5 years, 10 years of
Yeah.
Plan it.
You plan, the whole idea is to see if your goal is I want to go to Vrindavan and live my rest, then you should be planning now. You can't say I'm 55 or 67, then I'm going to. You can't. So many devotees have done that. They go there within 6 months, they come back or less. Yeah, so many. So you can't do that. You have to plan 3 years, 4 years ahead. You have to plan. And you have to first convince yourself that this is what I'm going to do, right? You have to think about it. I'm going to live away all this wonderful life, Deep, and then you have to keep reading Bharat Maharaj. He left it like a stool. So you have to ask yourself why? Because so much problems. So once you're convinced and then your practice becomes serious, then you're ready.
Otherwise, you'll just come back.
Exactly. So that's why I said if you're ready, you can do it.
Also, we should also be taking care of all the responsibilities properly.
That's inherent in that statement. You want to hear, okay, yes, make sure your responsibilities are taken care of. The point is, when someone takes sannyas, means he has done all those, not artificially.
Like the Rupa Goswami, 50%, 25%.
Yeah, everything must be done. I think I mentioned yesterday, make your will now. So if you get inspired to take sannyas, then at least everything is done. Nobody can argue.
My case, I'll be forced to take sannyas.
Uh-huh.
I'll be forced. Get out of home.
Sometimes Krishna will force, but remember, we'll come to it later. If you cannot control your senses properly, then you should not take sannyas. Yes. Text 31. Desisu cha samerajan samstapyasanam atmana stiram sukham samam tasmin asitarjvanga omiti. My dear king, in a sacred and holy place of pilgrimage, one should select a place in which to perform yoga. The place must be level and not too high or low. There one should sit very comfortably, being steady and equipoised, keeping his body straight, and thus begin chanting the Vedic pranava. Okay.
Like this.
This is also discussed in where?
6th chapter.
6th chapter Bhagavad Gita also. So one of the things you can see in our scripture, the instructions are the same. They don't, keep changing and coming up with new ideas. Okay, so it's the same. It's always the same instruction.
Expanded.
Yeah, either a little bit more, a little bit less, or it's coded, but it's the same. The same thing. Krishna also says, go to the forest, don't sit too high, don't sit too low. Then he also says, don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't sleep too much, work and recreation. That's yoga. Of course, Prabhupada wants us to understand there's no difference between Om and chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And then he also, so that we understand, because a lot of times people say Om means the impersonal aspect. So therefore Srila Prabhupada quotes the famous verse from the first canto. So you all should know this verse. Okay? You should know this because Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavanti, Satyati. It tells you that the Supreme Lord is in three aspects. So if someone wants to worship Brahman, it's acceptable, Paramatma is acceptable, but the best of the Lord is Bhagavan. So Prabhupada says, here the chanting of the Omkara is recommended because in the beginning of transcendental realization, instead of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one may chant Omkara, Pranava. There's no difference between the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Omkara because both of them are sound representations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. Okay? And then he also says, this is like the Bij mantra also, no? So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's always there. Even when we started the Bhagavatam, the very first one is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The difference between chanting Omkara and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is that the Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted without consideration of the place or the sitting arrangements recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Same verse. Okay. What is that verse? Nam Nam Akari Bauda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatha Vita Niyamita Smarane Nakala. So it doesn't matter, no hard and fast rules. Okay. Otherwise you have to be very, very strict. So Niyamita Smarane Nakala. Very important. So we are very fortunate. So we should be able to take this chanting seriously. Don't mess around with it. Yeah. Sit down, give respects to the holy name and chant. Get up early and chant. right? Sometimes people say, oh, I never get to sleep properly in the weekdays, so weekend I sleep, then you're not regulated. Then you lose regulation, and then your cycle goes down again. But you keep the regulation, then you will not have any disturbances in chanting. So we make mistakes like that. We add in extra rules for ourselves. But actually we are becoming dysregulated. And then it doesn't help us. Regulation is very, very important. Why? Because regulation means goodness. You do the same activities every day. I'm talking about spiritual activities, not nonsense activities. But
Good topics.
yeah. Right? So if you are regulated, then you will come to goodness. And when you're in goodness, when you read scriptures in the mode of goodness, you will pick up all Prabhupada's instructions very quickly. Then he'll hit you on the head. Oh my God, what am I doing? Of course, the best way to chant is to sit and chant, properly. And if you cannot, then walk. But don't sleep. So Prabhupada says, otherwise one may feel sleep. Okay? So if you feel sleepy, just go and sleep. Okay? Text 32 and 33. Prana pano sannirundiyat Pura kumbhakare chakai Yavan manastyadir kaman Swana sagran Vidirundyat chaner buddha. While continuously staring at the tip of the nose, a learned yogi practices the breathing exercises through the technical means known as Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka, controlling inhalation and exhalation and then stopping them both. In this way, the yogi restricts his mind from material attachments and gives up all mental desires. As soon as the mind, being defeated by lusty desires, drifts toward feelings of sense gratification, the yogi should immediately bring it back and arrest it within the core of his heart. So this also, we do it also. When our mind wanders, we bring it back. So in the chanting, when we are chanting, we also have to bring the mind back to focusing on the holy name, like that. We may be thinking of so many nonsense, but as soon as we realize that, we should stop and then pray for the mercy of the Lord. Like that. Now, those who do pranayama, you'll know Puraka, Kumbhaka. I'm not sure about Rechaka, but at least you know Puraka and Kumbhaka. Rechaka is when you do both
Balance.
in and exhaling. They must come and then everything ceases, stops. No more breathing. Like Dhruva Maharaj, and then the whole universe starts. But we are not at that platform. Yogis do it. Yeah. Anyway, the best yogi is one who worships the Lord. Yoginam salvation. Okay. Same yuktatamo mataha. And another way to practice this yoga is to always think of me, become my devotee. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. So again and again we hear all these things. Keep me in your mind, think of me, serve me. So these are reminders because we forget. Right? We forget. So if you can do that, Prabhupada says he immediately becomes a first class yogi. Then Prabhupada says, furthermore, keeping Krishna within the mind is not a difficult task for the devotee. Because he has nothing material to think about. That's why. But for most of us, we are so much entangled in material life, so we cannot focus on Krishna. So, for an ordinary man, because it's hard for him to focus, then yoga is recommended. But for the devotee, because he's already practicing, he's already a perfect yogi. Okay, that's why Krishna says, Same yukta tamo mata. Yeah. Text 34. Evam abhyasyata chittam
एवम् अभ्यासतश्चित्तम्
kalena yashayate
कालेनाग्नि यशायते
anisham tasya nirvanam
अनिशम् तस्य निर्वाणम्
yati anindana vanivad.
याति अनिन्दनवानिव.
When the yogi regularly practices in this way, in a short time his heart becomes fixed and free from disturbance, like a fire without flames or smoke. So this is a person who doesn't have any material things, and so he's only focused on trying to connect with Krishna. Of course, nirvana in this verse, Prabhupada says purification from all material contamination. Another way to understand here, it means there is no disturbance or he is peaceful. Okay. So in this case, he becomes peaceful. Prabhupada writes, sometimes people think desirelessness is understood to imply an end to the workings of the mind. And then he qualifies that, but it's not possible. Why? Because the living entity, the soul, has senses, active senses. And if the senses stop working, the living entity would no longer be a living entity. Because we have desires, we have, want to do so many things. So then he would be exactly like a stone or wood. So therefore this is not possible. Because he's living, he's nitya and chetana. That means he has sentient, he's eternal living entity and he's sentient. He feels things, right? So he wants to experience those happiness, those feelings, the spiritual feelings. But because he doesn't know, he comes into this deha and then tries to experience through the material body. Okay. So for those who are not very advanced, Prabhupada says, practice of yoga is recommended in order to stop the mind from being agitated by material desires. But in the modern way, they are not using yoga for those. They are just using to increase their sense enjoyment, increase their sex life like that. Okay. Then Prabhupada says, if one fixes his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, his mind naturally becomes peaceful very soon. So have you all tried that? Do you find yourself becoming peaceful? Oh, not sure. Maybe you're not fixing your mind on Krishna. Lotus feet. So that's why we have deities. So you go, you take darshan, you look. First darshan should be the lotus feet of the deities. Not the face, not anything else, but the lotus feet. That's the right, proper way to take darshan. One should stand at the lotus feet. I'm not qualified to look at you. Let me at least look at your lotus feet, then I will look at your face. Now I'm ashamed to look at your face. Right? I'm so ashamed. I don't want to come back to you. So lotus feet. So when you do that, then you'll be peaceful. That is why Krishna himself, as Vadapatra Shai, he's in a banyan leaf as a baby, and he's putting his feet in his mouth and sucking it. And the Markandeya Rishi was asking, why are you doing that? He said, all the sages, they always say my lotus feet is so wonderful, so I'm tasting. I'm trying to figure out. And he said, you cannot do it, only devotees can do it. So that's why that's how we become peaceful. And we understand, even the Lord wants to know what is in his feet. So take darshan, we look at the feet, and then we can say, Lord, please be kind to me. So that is the peace, real peace, is that we accept Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, supreme friend, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Then you become peaceful because everything belongs to him. You're just his servant. Yeah. But if you cannot accept he is the Lord of all that, then Prabhupada said, go to yoga and do some yoga first. So help you control your senses and mind. He continues, Narada, text 35. Kama divi anaviddam Shanta kila vrittiya Chittam brahma sukha sprishtam Naivo tisteta karhichi. When one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desires, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities. One is situated in eternal blissful life. Once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities. You're still struggling to become peaceful, which means you're still fighting with material desires. Prabhupada says lusty desires. Because you really want to enjoy material life. Of course, if you are truly focused on spiritual life, then you are like that a person who is on a Brahma Buddha platform. Nasochiti, Nakamshiti. You are peaceful, which is why Prabhupada mentions that verse. Because all the activities centered only on spiritual life, nothing else. That is why we should be planning for that. You should be looking forward to this stage in my life. So you should plan now how to, finish off my duties. Yeah, like that. So then, if you can taste the pleasure, this is a high taste. This is real ruchi. In the beginning, when you join, that ruchi is different. That's more of goodness. That you get excited, devotee, all, that's in the mode of goodness. You get that taste. But this is a higher taste where you, Brahma Sukha, you're experiencing spiritual happiness. So once you experience that, you will never turn back, which is what the verse is saying. Yeah. So if we keep turning back, it's because we are moving from mode of goodness, mode of passion, like that. Right? And you'll never fall down. So that is at a high level of spiritual experience. Text 36. Ya pravrajya grihat purvam trivarga vapanat punaha Yadi seveta tan bhikshu Savaivantasi apatrapaha. Let's see, Narada Muni. It's kind of heavy. One who accepts the sannyas order gives up the three principles of materialistic activities in which one indulges in the field of household life, namely religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One who first accepts sannyas, but then returns to such materialistic activities is to be called a vantasi, or one who eats his own vomit. He is indeed a shameless person. Okay, so if you take sannyas means no more religious activity, no more all those things at home, yagna, those kind of activities. No more trying to make money, economic development, and definitely no sense gratification. But if you're not finished with that, then you prematurely take sannyas, then you will fall down. And therefore, it is not recommended here. So if you come back, then it's like eating your own vomit, vantasi. Don't be a vantasi. Vanti. one who vomits. Yeah. So if you are already situated, if you practice properly, then you should be having a higher taste. Then you don't need this lower taste anymore. Okay. Higher taste means you don't want all this anymore. So you shouldn't be coming back. So that's the whole idea here. What it is trying to say is one should, before taking sannyas, one should practice properly, so that he loses taste for all these material things. So it doesn't matter what your ashram is. You should be practicing this. Grihastha, brahmachari, vanaprastha, all of them. Of course, when one is very serious about sannyas, then he should be. But if he cannot, if he still has his lusty desires, then he should not take sannyas. Should not. Just peer group pressure. No. No such thing. This is serious business. Taking sannyas is declaring war with Maya. So then you have to be very careful. Okay. So Prabhupada says in our Krishna consciousness movement, it is advised therefore that the sannyasis and brahmacharis keep strictly aloof from the association of women, so that there will be no chance of their falling down again as victims of lusty desires. Because at any immature stage you can fall down, so you should be very careful. Okay. Text 37. Yai swadeha smrito natma
Ye swadeha smrito natma
Bhatyo vikrimi vasmava
Bhalyo vikrimi vasmavat
Tayinam atmasar kritva
Tayenam atmasakritva
Shlagayantihi asattamaha.
Sargayati sattamaha
Sannyasis who first consider that the body is subject to death, when it will be transformed into stool, worms or ashes, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to consider the greatest rascals. And now Prabhupada has a reason why, because there are many people who take sannyas and then they still give importance to the material body, particularly in India. So he says, they artificially consider themselves Brahman or Narayana. And if someone is poor, they say they are Daridra Narayana. And therefore Prabhupada sometimes says, if they are not Daridra Narayana, and if they are rich, then they are Dani Narayana. So he's asking that. It's in the purport. So such is a nonsense. So he says such people are asattamaha. That means greatest rascals. And then there are sannyasis who stress upon the importance of social position of the body. Oh, you are Brahmana, you are Kshatriya, you are Vaishya, you are Sudra, you are Rajasthani, you are Gujarati, right? There are people like you are Punjabi and stuff like that. Oh, nonsense. Why such things? We are all spirits, so stuck in different designation. So ultimately it means if such sannyasis are speaking like, they are not really the spiritual personalities. They are just designation. They just taken on that role. And they shouldn't be looked up upon to guide you in your spiritual life. Because Prabhupada says they do not know the meaning of Narayana. Those who regard the body as Brahman or as Narayana are described here as asattama, the most abominable rascals. Because they are still following the bodily concept of life. And such sannyasis make various programs to serve the body. They conduct farcical missions consisting of so-called religious activities meant to mislead all of human society. These sannyasis have been described herein as apatrapa and asattamaha, shameless and fallen from spiritual life. Right? Just like one of these sannyasis was saying, cut all the tulsi plants and throw away. Grow eggplants.
Oh,
Yeah.
in India?
In India. There's a nonsense in all.
Before our time.
Was it Vivekananda?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Vivekananda said that?
Yes.
So,
Oh my god.
So don't put them up in the pedestal.
We studied in the school books.
Yeah.
He's the person who
Yeah,
looked up
in,
to.
in your Indian school books, no? Such nonsense. Text 38-39. Grihastasya kriyatyago
Grihastasya kriyatyago
vratatyago vatorapi
vratatyago vatorapi
tapasvino grama seva
tapasvino grama seva
bhikshurindriya lolata
bhikshurindriyalolata
ashrama pasadahi ete
ashramapasadahiyete
kalvashrama vidambanaha
kalvashrama vidambanaha
devamaya vimudam stan
devamaya vimudhamstam
upekshetanukampaya.
upekshetanukampaya.
It is abominable for a person living in the Grihastha ashram to give up the regulated principles. For a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru. For a vanaprastha to live in the village and engage in so-called social activities, or for a sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lowest renegade. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or, taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position. After saying all that, Narada Muni says we should compassion. Compare. So that's very important, no? We shouldn't ridicule. We can correct them, but you shouldn't ridicule, you know. So similarly, in our own company, devotees sometimes may fall down and so on. So we shouldn't just simply reject them. But we should first take compassion and see if we can reinstate them in their original position. If not, then after trying nicely, then we can say, you are not suited for this. Yeah. Not immediately, take up the Shiva dance, right? Danava dance. Tandava. Right? Immediately, that's the first thing we see anyone do something, we immediately want to go and chew them and tear them to pieces and then stomp on them, and then we are feeling satisfied. But here you can see, why? Because such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Lord. And one should either reject him from any position or taking compassion. We should first try to take compassion, teach him if possible. So that's why even when sannyasis fall down or guru falls down, we give them chance to become reinstated. But then they cannot initiate anymore, at least in ISKCON. They come back to the original position, but no more initiation. Like that. So Prabhupada writes, if a brahmachari does not live under the care of the guru, if a vanaprastha engages in ordinary activities, or if a sannyasi is greedy and eats meat, eggs, and all kinds of nonsense for the satisfaction of his tongue, he is a cheater and should immediately be rejected as unimportant. And then he says, such person should be shown compassion. And if one has sufficient strength, one should teach them to stop them from following the wrong path in life, which is what we should be doing. When you go out on books, this is what you're doing. You're showing compassion to people who have actually fallen. But if they, after trying and they still don't take it up, then we can reject them and pay no attention. That's what Prabhupada says. Okay, so you try to help. Try 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then you can reject. Sometimes you will find these people will still come to the temple 100 times, and you try to so you should know there's something they have taste, or Krishna is giving them some taste, so they are coming. But you just have to pray for them. Sometimes you cannot fix them. Right. Text 40. Atmanam ched vijaniya
Atmanam ched vijaniya
param jnana dutasaya
param jnana dutasaya
kimichan kashyava heto
kimichan kashyava heto
deham pushnati lampataha.
deham pushnati lampataha.
The human form of body is meant for understanding the self and the supreme self, the supreme personality of Godhead, both of whom are transcendentally situated. If both of them can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge, for what reason and for whom does a foolish greedy person maintain the body for sense gratification? So if you can understand this advanced thing about the body and the soul, why would the Narada Muni is saying, why is a greedy person still maintaining the body for sense gratification? Saying, why is this foolish person? Basically, 99% of the population in the world is pursuing sense gratification. 99%. But you find that if they are properly cultivated in Krishna consciousness, they take it out. So when I say properly, it means it's not it's not immediately. It'll be a period of time. For example, you give a book, they get interested, they come to the temple. You must cultivate and guide them with proper training. And then they'll understand, okay, the body is not who I am a spirit soul. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for elevating the living being for promotion back home, back to Godhead. Seeking such elevation is one's duty in the human form of life. So Prabhupada is telling us what our duty is also. We cannot always keep asking, what's my duty? A lot of time people keep asking. How you work it out is a different situation in your family life or whatever. But the duty is very clear. Unless one performs this duty, why should one maintain the body? Why? Because why does he say that? Because the body is meant for self-realization. Yeah. Especially if a sannyasi not only maintains the body by ordinary means, but does everything to maintain the body, including even eating meat and other abominable things, he must be a lampata. Because many of these sannyasis, they eat meat. Ramakrishna Mission, all those people, right? They will eat meat. That's why Prabhupada is like smashing them. He must be a lampata, a greedy person, simply engaged in sense gratification. Because the term sannyas means rejection. Anything enjoyment, rejecting. Anything material, rejecting. It's a divorce. But here they are doing all this, so therefore Prabhupada says it's nonsense. So a sannyas must specifically remove himself from the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals. So what is the first instruction by Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction? Vacharenam manasapro jiva udaram pastam. So it's very important because they will disturb us. As long as you have a body, these things will disturb us. They will disturb us. No such thing as never disturb us. Only when you are connected with Krishna, then they cannot disturb you. The senses, if it's not connected with the Supreme Lord, is connected with the material energy, the modes, 3 modes, and therefore they will check your progress. Okay? But if it's connected with Krishna, then Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. Then you are free. You are then using the senses properly. Then you are awakening your true senses, your spiritual senses. We spiritualize the whole body. Then that is why the sannyasis who are very dedicated, their body is put in, preserved in samadhi, not burnt. Because they are spiritual. Yeah. Because they are using everything. The senses, the body, everything in the service of Sri Krishna. So when we understand that, then when we relate to all these activities, we can appreciate why we do certain things, why we are respectful of the sannyas and so on, higher status and so on. Text 41. Ahu shariram vratamindriyani
Shariram vratamindriyani
ayana vishum mana indriyesham
Ayana vishunvana indriyesham
Vatmani matra dishanam cha sutam
Padmani matra dishanam cha sutam
Sattvam brihad bandhuramishra sristam
Sattvam brihadbandhuramishra srishtam.
Transcendentalists who are advanced in knowledge compare the body which is made by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to a chariot. The senses are like the horses, the mind, the master of the senses is like the reins. The objects of the senses are the destinations. Intelligence is the chariot driver, and consciousness, which spreads throughout the body, is the cause of bondage in this material world. It's the same as the Katha Upanishad verse, remember, quoted in the Bhagavad Gita. So you can see, always the same. Scripture never changes. The instructions are always the same. Whether it is, just like chanting 16 round or chanting unlimitedly, it's always the same chant. Yeah. It's only the length of it can be adjusted according to our qualification. So for most people, the senses, the mind, which engage in sense gratification, are the cause of bondage to repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. For most people, generally, 99%, you can say. But for one who is practicing Krishna consciousness, we are using this mind, senses, and the body in the service of Krishna. So they become the cause of our liberation. So if you use it properly, it is the same. The human body is like the boat. Remember? Science of self-realization. The boat that is used to go back to Godhead. So if you use it properly, it will take you back to Godhead. If you misuse it, then you will have to come back, rebirth, cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, in the second paragraph, Prabhupada writes, the human body could be used in two ways. For going to the darkest regions of ignorance or for going forward, back home, back to Godhead. So the choice is ours. To go back to Godhead, the path is Mahat Seva. What is Mahat Seva? Service to the great devotees. And who is a great devotee? Spiritual master. So again, you see, it's so important to have that understanding that the spiritual master is very, very exalted. Must be convinced in the heart. And don't ever become offensive to the spiritual master. Why? Because Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahu Vimukte. It will open the door of liberation if you serve your spiritual master nicely. Or anyone who's advanced for that. So when they give you instructions, then they can actually help you cross this ocean of material suffering. Right? And when you follow the instructions, the knowledge becomes perfect. your knowledge becomes perfect. Because you use it for the right purposes. You're using it for Krishna consciousness. So therefore your knowledge is perfect. Sometimes we think perfect means we know everything. No, perfect means you know how to serve the spiritual masters, serve Krishna, serve the movement. On the other hand, tamodwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. If one wants to go to the darkest regions of material existence, one may continue to associate with persons who are attached to women. Yoshitam sangi sangam. The word yoshit means woman. Persons who are too materialistic are attached to women. So therefore you see when you drive in the highway, all these boards, billboards, always is women only. And all these women are having anorexia or bulimia. Right? Right? Because they don't look like women anymore. They all look like skinny, you know. And that is the standard nowadays, right? It's all skeletons. So therefore, we should use it properly. Otherwise, again, our purpose, why we live and so on, makes no sense to anybody. Okay. And Prabhupada quotes again the third verse from the 9th chapter. Ashradadana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapyaman Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vatmani. Those who are not faithful on the path or devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. So Krishna gives a warning. If you take up the process and don't do it properly or are not faithful, then you will have to come back. Coming back is not a good alternative, no. Too much suffering, isn't it? Just imagine your own body gives you so much problems. Not to speak of your in-laws and your friends and others. Right? It's too much, you know. So we shouldn't think of even coming back. So Prabhupada continues, if one does not care to listen to Krishna's instructions, the result will be that one will never go back to Godhead, but will continue life in this miserable condition of repeated birth and death in material existence. Again he says, so when you think I'm going to come back again, you should understand you're a fool, you know? Right? Correct. I'm coming here to die. Suffer and then die. So it's very nice the way Srila Prabhupada wants to highlight to us, you know, why we want to do this. You know. So we should always, you know, whatever, for example, like holidays, now you're going to have Christmas break and so on, come to the temple, you know, come and have association. You know, don't hide in your bed, sleep for 3 days in a row, then go, yeah, people do that. And then they only get up, eat something, go back and sleep, you know. I know, because I know these things. And I was in college, I saw all these things. People were doing that. And I was thinking, what is wrong with these people? You know? They'll sleep, you know, from whole day they'll sleep. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, they come out, you know, open the refrigerator, eat something, and then they'll go back and close and then sleep. So at that time, I wasn't thinking of all this, but now when I read things, all those things, yeah, they were doing like that. They're crazy people. And it's still going on. People are still doing that. So if you don't want to get into this repeated birth and death, then become sincere. The way you become sincere is you whatever opportunity you get, come to temple. Come for Mangalarti during the holiday breaks. If it's not snowing in Seattle, you should come. Yeah, I mean it may snow, but the point is, if it doesn't snow, try to come. If it's weekends, come for Mangalarti. Simply by doing Mangalarti, you can go back to Godhead. Yeah, because it's a sincere activity. You are declaring to Krishna, I am coming to see you. Prabhupada gives an example of the old lady in Radha Damodar temple. He says every morning she comes with a pot of water, she goes to Yamuna, she goes straight in her clothing. That's how she takes bath and cleans and then comes with a pot of water. Even in winter when it's freezing cold, she comes. Every morning for Mangala Arati. In India there's no heater, nothing, it's open temple.
This is Vichar in Bhakti Yogena
Sevata, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sagunan Samita.
Brahma, yeah, yeah, comes. So that's why I say if you simply do Mangalarati, you will get liberated. Yeah. And even that is so difficult. It's true. You keep doing that, your love for God will increase, definitely will increase. You'll start seeing the deities for real, not as some statue. So Prabhupada continues, to return home back to Godhead, one must change his consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. Consciousness is the cause of material bondage. But if this consciousness is purified by bhakti yoga, one can then understand the falsity of his upadhi, his designations, right? I'm Indian, I'm Chinese, I'm American, I'm Hindu, I'm Bindu, I'm Sindhu, Muslim, Christian, etc. etc. So Prabhupada says that Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam. He finished that. All this designation, constitutional position, nothing else. You cannot claim anything else except service for Krishna. Text 42. Aksham dasa pranam adharma dharma
Aksham dasapranam dharma dharma
chakre vimanam ratinam cha jivam.
Chakre vimanam ratinam.
10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot's wheels and the top and bottom of the wheel. In 1 year, I think 2 years ago, Sadhu Sangha used this. Huh?
Visual design.
Yeah, they show this design.
This was
The jiva should fly to the practice of devotion, should himself. Oh, you were there, no? Yeah, I remember probably.
Shoot himself?
Yeah,
Not
fly, not shooting in that way. You know. The Prabhupada will talk about that here.
So the
Some kid
spiritual
was
life
wearing a shirt
is-
two
Yeah.
days back in the hospital. I saw it and I was like,
Sadhu Sangha.
living entity, I can't be in this world. Just with your understanding.
And the jiva should, in connection with the Lord, go with him. So there are 10 kinds of life air, if you want to know, in our material body. Mostly you only know prana, apana, samana, vyana and udana. These are the 5 air that you know from Bhagavad Gita. Now Prabhupada gives the other 5. Naga, Kurma, Kri, Kala, Devadatta and Dhananjaya. Okay. So in this example they are compared to the chariot's wheel, the spokes that holds the wheel. The life has the energy for all of the living beings' activities, which are sometimes religious and sometimes irreligious. Thus, religion and irreligion are said to be the upper and lower portions of the chariot's wheels. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the conditioned state of life, one does not understand that the goal of life is the Supreme Lord. Na te vidu swarta gatim hi vishnum durashaya ye bahirarthamanina. Who says that? Prahlad. So you cannot become happy in this material world because that is not our goal. Right? It's not our goal. But when he becomes to a point of understanding what is goal, then he will certainly finish with all this designation. My country, my family, and so on. Internally in the beginning, then later on when he's ready, externally also. Like Srila Prabhupada, right? When the time was right, he then quit the family life and then walked out. So, if he doesn't understand what the goal of life is, then he will try to look for happiness here. Doesn't understand what the goal is. Right? Mostly you ask people what is the goal of life. What are they going to tell you?
Get a good job.
Make more money.
Peace, happiness, prosperity.
Yeah, they say that peace, but what is peace? What is your definition of peace? Some people will say if Trump is elected, that's peace, I will be happy. Some people will say I won't be happy. So what is peace for? What is not peace? So how can it be, right? So it doesn't make sense. According to our scripture, there is one thing that gives peace for everybody, equally.
That's 529.
Yes,
Yes.
you just read that, yeah. That's right.
So I have one question.
Huh?
In the previous verse, it is already mentioned that driver is intelligence and humans are mind and soul is
This is an
So
analogy.
then again, here it is said
It's a
that
different
living entity is
analogy.
arrow.
Yeah, it's a
So what
different.
is living entity then?
It's a different analogy.
But is it different
Analogy.
or same analogy extended?
You can say like that, but then it's a different analogy. Yeah. So you have to understand.
Although it is same analogy extended, if in the previous verse these things are identified, then what is living entity in this verse?
Hold on. What were you saying? You were saying previous verse.
The jiva is compared as
Arrow.
He's trying to, say the body, chariot, and then you have the bow and arrow also. It's not, it may be connected, may not be connected. I think that's all.
no, the jiva is not mentioned in the previous
In the
one.
way previous one, they don't mention.
In this one, yeah. Everything else is explained. The next verse
The
says the
soul is mentioned in the previous verse, which is
Karma.
Consciously.
No, you see, in the previous, the owner of that chariot is,
Consciousness.
Yantra Rudrayani Maya, right? So the owner is the jiva. But he's just talking about how he's moving this chariot. Okay? Then here he's talking about the 10 kinds of life air. And then he's saying it's an analogy to compare with the chariot wheel that moves one to different pursuits of life. And then he says the living entity is like the
arrow.
arrow. Yeah. If he knows what to do, then the target becomes the Supreme Lord. Okay. All right, then this is important. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented that because the words bow and arrow are used in this verse, one might argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity have become enemies. However, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may become the so-called enemy of the living being, this is his chivalrous pleasure, how Prabhupada is explained. For example, the Lord fought with Bhishma, and when Bhishma pierced the Lord's body on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, this was a kind of humor or relationship of which there are 12. When the conditioned soul tries to reach the Lord by hurling an arrow at him, the Lord takes pleasure, and the living entity gains the profit of going back home, back to Godhead. See how Srila Prabhupada dovetails it. That's what he is. So we have to see it in Krishna consciousness. Another example given in this regard is that Arjuna, as a result of piercing the Adhara Meena, or the fish within the chakra, achieved the valuable gain of Draupadi. Similarly, if with the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet by dint of performing his heroic activity of devotional service, one receives the benefit of returning home back to God.
Very well.
That's a very nice.
Kshatriyas.
Actually, you can never hurt the Lord. That's what it means, right?
Huh?
You can never hurt the Lord if you try to.
No, you cannot hurt.
You cannot.
Well, you hurt by not going back to God.
No, that's one thing. Yeah.
He feels hurt. But you are true. You cannot hurt him because Krishna is always enjoying. You cannot really hurt. But then his true feeling in his heart is he wants us to come back.
That's why he's missing us a lot.
Yes, it's missing us. I think I'll stop here. It's almost 9 o'clock. So tomorrow we'll continue. 43 onwards. Any comments or even questions? Yes,
So Prabhuji, if like a disciple thinking your spiritual master not happy with you, so he should ask why not you happy, or
if he feels that way, if he can approach, okay, if he feels that way and if he can approach the spiritual master to ask that question, he could. But if he can ask someone who's closer to his spiritual master, that is also acceptable. Yeah, it's always good to clear one's doubts. Yeah, you cannot go on with the rest of your life thinking, my Guru Maharaj didn't like me. But maybe he never said he didn't like you. He probably just chastised you, you fool. Go away from here. It doesn't mean he don't like you, just he didn't want you at that time.
How much can one pester one's guru? Like if you have to ask something or you have doubts, how much can you go after him?
It should be related to one's spiritual life. Yeah. It shouldn't be like I lost my job. What should I do, my dear Guru Maharaj? He has better things to do than worry about. So how much you disturb means you have to see. Can you get the answer from other devotees? If they can, then one should be willing to understand that spiritual master sometimes also speaks through other Vaishnavas.
Other God brothers.
Oh, God brothers. Other Vaishnavas.
Other Vaishnavas.
Yeah,
Every Vaishnava.
Yeah.
That's why you have the Sangha of Vaishnavas.
I mean, Vaishnavas and your God brothers. Vaishnavas could be higher level than
Everyone is Vaishnava.
Yeah.
Don't try not to limit only to God brothers. And
both.
In ISKCON, it's very difficult to Krishna master directly because of
Yeah, so then the way, when you can't get your Guru's association, you get his association through
one.
Vani, instruction, through his
lectures.
lectures. That's one way. And then the secondly is through his disciples, senior devotees, like that. But they should be aligned with the Guru's mood and mission.
But I was saying, because in the 7th canto it said, Prahlad Maharaj considers his God brothers also to be the representative of Supreme. There's some verse, right? There's one verse.
I'm not
That's
sure.
what I remember. That's why I said. I didn't mean to exclude the Vaishnava. There's something particular in that.
I'll have to look through it. I can't remember.
It's there in 7th canto.
You have better memory than I have.
I just remember, and it struck me very well. No, you have to respect God. 7th canto.
7th canto.
It says specifically that verses.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says like that. Srila Prabhupada says like that everyone is sent by my spiritual master. So in a sense, they all like he sees them as his well-wishers and so on. Yes.
In one reference, you said like we can pray for others if you go for book distribution
Yes.
or if you want to cultivate someone. So is it that one should pray for someone individually or you can just pray for everybody?
It's different, no? When you say, "Oh Lord, help the whole universe," you're not Vasudeva Datta, no? Right? Yeah, you could pray like that, but what is the effect? I think it may not be the same. there is some value, but it may not be at the same level as Vasudeva Datta. But if you worship for someone who you know and you feel it through your heart, that is more
Specific.
personable and more, I think, effective, because you truly want to see them. You know, just like, for example, if you read the pastime of Ramanujacharya, obviously Ramanujacharya is, on a different scale, but still, Yamunacharya, when he saw him, he wished in his heart that this person should become take over his whole ashram and stuff like that. He wished and he prayed for that like that. And then when he died, he had three fingers, like held up like that. So then Ramanuja is the only one who could understand why. So as he said all three things, the fingers opened up. Yeah. So yeah. So if you wish for one person, then the Lord understands you care for that person. And there's some, like, when we say the whole world, it's like more generic. Yeah. It works, but it may not be at that scale that you want. It's more effective to play for individual. I think so. At least I feel that way. Yeah.
So Prabhuji, how do I know? I understand. I am. I'm Atman of this body. So how do I know? I understand.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, when your desire to serve Krishna exclusively, then you are thinking of yourself as a servant of Krishna. Who's a servant of Krishna? He's a Atman. Yeah. So then you know you're Atman. Yeah. The other way is, you can do what Prabhupada, touch your nose. This is my nose, hey. Then you say, point to yourself, where? Yeah. Or as you look at the picture when you were a little boy, and now you can see the body has changed, but you're the same person. Yeah. You're just changing the body. But for us, that development of becoming a servant of Krishna should grow strongly. That I am. So once it's very strong, then nothing can disturb you. There's no more dualities. You're sure. Huh? You won't let anything disturb you except the service. So then you're acting on the platform of a spirit soul. Otherwise, you'll act on your bodily platform. What you require, body designations and so on. Extensions, family, country. Yeah? Yes. Okay. All right. So Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Brahma.